used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Fat Man.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now today we will take a look at Robin from DC Rebirth. Now this was a McFarlane Toy Store exclusive originally, and it's kind of funny because I did sort of catch the first two times it went up for pre-order, but surprisingly it would not let me check out. So that happened and I kind of was bummed out, but I always tell people that regardless of what you may think of me, because I am a disgusting completist and I'm pretty much a crazy DC action figure fanatic, if I miss a figure or if something happens where I can't really track it down right away, it doesn't bother me. I just let it go. I mean, I'm sure it would depend on which figure it is, but sometimes you just gotta let it go and roll with the punches, and eventually you'll get your chance to pick up any of the figures that McFarlane releases. Now some have been a little bit more harder to pick up than others. So eventually I did come across this one at CMD Store, which is a Canadian retailer. A little bit more pricey than it was at the McFarlane Toy Store, but actually not by very much. And in fact, if you're looking for this one online, you're basically looking at about above 40, maybe 50 bucks. But I ended up picking up two. I did pick up another to put into my unopened mint and box DC Multiverse collection. And I think it was 62 bucks, so you're looking at around 30 bucks each, which to get a figure that's hard to pick up, it doesn't really bother me. I'll go ahead and pay it. And now I'm satisfied with having one to have open and one to have in my mint box collection. Now this one does actually look pretty astounding in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now of course this is not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front you do have some source material. Now it doesn't really look like the head sculpt, and in fact I did find an image that I think pretty much represents what this Robin is supposed to be, but the image they have on here to me looks more of like a Jason Todd young Robin. Now there is a kind of mix up of which one is Jason Todd and which one is Dick Grayson. I'll dive into that a little bit later on, but not sure why they picked this comic book art, but it does say Robin Dick Grayson from DC Rebirth, so pretty interesting. Now on the back you do have some information. Pretty cool. We'll go ahead and add that to the collection. Now he does come with accessories. He does come with this kind of nylon string with a batarang on it. Now I'm not too sure how this is supposed to be used. I mean, you can always make stuff up to use little props that are given to you for photos and stuff like that, but definitely interesting. We'll hold on to this one. Now he comes with an assortment of alternate hands, and I would figure this is because he's such a small figure. Now originally in the box he actually comes with like an open gesturing hand, and I kind of switched that out to give him two fists just to make it easier to take a look at him. But he also does come with two grasping hands, I guess for like batarangs or grapnel guns, but we'll add that. Pretty cool. He also comes with the two awesome gesture hands, which is going to be pointing a finger at you and then thumbs up, which pretty cool to have different alternate hands when you're doing photo photography. That's what I always really appreciate about any sort of accessories that we get with these figures, because you never know how eventually you'll end up using it. I guess like the egg sandwich from the Harley Quinn figure from Birds of Prey. that is something that is like a sort of random accessory, but you can use it with other figures, to give them something to munch on. So I always appreciate that. And then finally, he does come with two kind of open gesturing hands, which, as I said before, are good for like emoting emotion and taking photographs. So pretty cool. Now, sadly, no grapnel gun, but in my large box of old accessories, I did find something that probably will fit with him. But for now, let's take a closer look at the figure. Now, first impressions, this is our first sort of classically dressed Robin. Now, of course, we did get the Carrie Kelly from The Dark Knight Returns, but that's a more stylized version of that character from that storyline. And she's good in her own right, but everybody wanted a Robin to go with their Batman. And since I recently reviewed the Nightfall Batman, which is basically our quintessential classic Batman, this one is going to fit probably right in with that figure. But all in all, first impressions, pretty reminiscent of the Carrie Kelly suit, but there are some differences. And in fact, I do think that this upper red part of the costume, like the tunic or whatever it's called, is actually pretty different compared to the Carrie Kelly one. But he hits all the points of a classic Robin. The green tone, the red, the yellow, the little sort of, I guess you could say chainmail underpants, and of course that, bright yellow cape. So first impressions, cool looking Robin. I'm sure we'll get another one before this is all said and done. A lot of people not a big fan of the head sculpt, but let's go ahead and take a look at that right now. Now, as I said before, it says Dick Grayson, and if you check this image from DC Rebirth, you can kind of see where the inspiration for this head sculpt actually came from. And that's more with the hair design, like how it has that swooping frontward comb over, which really is replicated in the artwork. And then he has like that little smirk on his face, kind of giving me Damian Wayne vibes, because whenever they draw Damian Wayne, sometimes they make him look real creepy or like a little jerk. And that's why I've always had like a soft spot for Damian Wayne. So although it does kind of give me the Damian Wayne vibes, it is supposedly a Dick Grayson. But for what it is, they do capture that kind of impish look. And as I say, he has that weird little smirk on his face. Kind of thick domino mask, which is why I think it looks like that image from Rebirth. And then you got the cool hair sculpt. So all in all, pretty cool. Let's take a look at the articulation. He does look down really well. Kind of menacing there. He can look up really high. Cool for articulated poses. Always appreciate that. You got right to left. And of course you could tilt his head for some creepy character. Give him some attitude. Now let's go ahead and move down. Classic R for Robin. You got the separation of the red with the yellow. Pretty nice paint apps. Everything looks clean. Let's take a look at the waist articulation. You do have a slight side to side. Full tilt-a-whirl at the waist. You could twist him, get him in some action poses. He does have a slight crunch, but of course it is hindered because of the way the torso is designed. So leaning back, the same thing. You could get him to lean back, but it is kind of restricted just because of the way they executed the costume. Get him in a T-pose really simply, and he can even go a little bit higher into a sort of Y pose. Take a look at the shoulders. You do have that sort of butterfly socket and bushing shoulder, and you could see the bushing ring moving around in there. but it really is just to hide the gap between the shoulder and the rest of the costume. You do have some up and down, front to back, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows with that, which actually look awesome. And then going down, it's a really nice design, and the silhouette looks good. Going from the wrist into the hand, the ball is just almost too big, but it does give it clean lines, even though it does protrude just a slight tad. On the other side, of course, you have the McFarlane wrist articulation, hinging and swivel, and on the other side you have the same thing. So all in all, pretty cool. You can put his arms above his head as well for fighting and I guess jumping through the air poses. So all in all, really good. Let's go ahead and go down to the thighs. Here you do see the little, like, sort of, I guess, Submariner-ish trunks. And then you got that tiny little thigh swivel. It is there, which means that you can move his foot from side to side without having a thigh cut. You can also kick up really high and kick back really far as well. Now, do not be afraid. The trunks do bend and allow for this movement, and when you put them back, they actually go back to their original position. Now, if you look in here, this is different than the normal McFarlane hip joint. This is actually just a ball and socket, but you still get some good range out of there. Can cock out his knee. You got that sweet McFarlane hip swivel. Double jointed knees. Straighten them out, up and down at the ankle. Right to left. Rocker. And toe articulation. Now we will take a complete look at the lower body, even though there's not really much to it, just plain leg sculpt, no sort of real deep muscle tone. You can see a little bit of shape there. The ankle balls are almost a little bit too big, but one thing I will give them is that they like articulate really smoothly. You could manipulate the rocker and twist it really well. So take a look at them from the bottom. Some kind of weird tread and no identifying marks. Up the back, nothing to really speak of. You got the back of those little trunks and then the back of the costume. You do got that, swooshing static cape from McFarlane that, I'm fine with. So pretty cool. Now, of course, you do want to have some fun with this guy. So if you pop off one of his fists, you could pop in a gripping hand. Pretty simple too. It snaps on and off pretty easily. And I guess if you wanted to, you could wrap this batarang with a rope like around one arm and then have him holding it. Kind of, anticlimactic to really get this. This was the first time we seen like a sort of, nylon string. But what you can do is actually pull this off all the way and use just the batarang in his hand, which he actually looks really good with and fits right in his hand. Actually, I have tons of batarangs, so I could have went, different ways, but I thought this batarang, since it came with him, would be good to pose him with. Now, you can go out. I have a extra Carrie Kelly slingshot from, all the custom work I done. You could have him with that, even though traditionally it's not really one of his main weapons, but you could switch out one of the open hands to give him a little bit of action. There's just tons of stuff you could do with these figures. I also had this pretty cool grapnel gun that I just found in my box of parts. Now it has like this sort of sliding out grapnel, but what's really cool is that it actually does fit in his hand rather nicely. Now it does have some eyelets that you can actually use this string with, which would look pretty cool if you were to pass it through there. But for now, just him posing with this, it actually fits him really nicely. So you could always bring out older things that you have to take some pretty cool figure photography, which I always enjoy. So I'm not the best at it, but I like to indulge in it. It's pretty nice. Let's see if we could stand him. Pretty cool. There you go. He's standing. Now, most figures, it does take a little bit of skill to stand. They don't just stand on their own, but it can easily be done. Now let's go ahead and bring in Carrie Kelly, because it's the closest thing matching up to this figure. I'm a big fan of this figure. I really like Carrie Kelly as a character. Was never, even being a young kid and reading The Dark Knight, was never a big deal to me that they made a girl Robin. Fine. Pretty cool thing is you can actually manipulate these hands, and if you want to take some different shots of her, like with using these hands, it kind of does work. Now the greens are a little bit off. Not so sure if it's my lights, but you could really tell under the lights that like the ball joints are just a little bit different compared to the gauntlets and the gloves. But when you're working with figure photography, you can always manipulate the light and not really notice it as much. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with what we received with this Robin. Now I did want to talk about the closest DC Universe classic version of this, which was these two Robins that were released. Now they are marketed as one being Jason Todd and one being Dick Grayson, but I could never really figure out which is which. Now if you look in the comics, for some reason I always feel like Jason Todd had like those sort of like little short bangs. He never really had like that swooped hair. And actually Dick Grayson is the one that they show more with that swooped hair, like that comb over style. So kind of hard for me to say which is which, but these are the most classic DC Universe Classics Robins that ever came out. Pretty pricey on the aftermarket, but luckily I do have them in my collection. We did want to bring out Damian Wayne, which was, one of the first little Robins we got. And we also got a New Frontier Robin, which completely new design of the costume with like different shoes, different armor, different chest plate, and different head sculpt, but all in all was the same character. And also I did want to see what these heads would look like on this little Robin figure, just to give it, to see if it would work. Now the first Damian Wayne head actually does kind of work. It looks a little large, but it kind of works with the little kid, feeling of it, where it has like a smaller body with a larger head. But it does look like a Damian Wayne that is pretty peed off that they made him dress in the classic costume. But it does kind of work. And then the New Frontier head, it has the like correct color scheme with the black domino mask. And it does look kind of cool because it looks a little bit more cartoonish. But it's just something you could go with if you would like to do some head swaps. Because of course this Robin head is pretty suspect. We don't know what the hell's going on. And finally, let's go ahead and bring out the Nightfall Batman. Now I did review this guy, a pretty classic version of Batman, classic colors, and I just wanted to see how he would look with this Robin figure. And actually, for all intents and purposes, they look really cool together. You get that classic dynamic duo whole vibe going. Pretty cool figure. He matches up well with this Batman. I guess if you wanted to, you can match him up basically with a lot of the Batman just to see how it looks. But pretty happy with him. The head sculpt wasn't my favorite, but I could live with it. Hopefully we'll get another shot at a different version a little bit more down the line. But he's going to look cool up there on the shelf with the rest of the Bat family. But you guys, Keep hunting out there. Keep collecting. Keep customizing. And I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
But first, he does come with your standard black.